I spend 2 hours each week messing around with all of the new AI tech tools that come out. And then I come on this platform and I share everything I've learned in under 10 minutes so that you don't have to do that. If you're new here, my name is Steph, and I run this platform Success with Steph to help first gen professionals learn how to thrive in corporate spaces. And today, I am breaking down everything that I have learned from messing around with Google's new rollout on the Notebook LLM. Let's get into it. So this actually started out because I was scrolling on LinkedIn. If you're new here and you haven't seen some of the posts I do on LinkedIn, please do go and check those out because I break down different stuff about 2, 3 times a week that's happening in the sustainability and tech space. So as ever, I'm going to break down what I've actually learned, if there's any jargon that needs to be busted, and then the pros and cons of the tools that I've used and what kind of things I personally would be thinking about using the tools for. So I actually came across this Notebook LM in my capacity as co-founder and CEO of Dossio. So if you don't already know, I run a social enterprise called Dossio. It helps 14 to 18-year-old students gain employability skills. See some of the amazing stuff we do. And one of the things I like to do over summer is always give myself a little pet project to try and make the operations a little bit more efficient, to help everyone in the team upskill, because we've got a number of amazing volunteers that work with us. And I like to try and think about how we can make things a bit better, right, for the students. So I immediately thought to myself, okay, when we're doing team training, maybe we could put or upload documents that we have created internally at Dossio to kind of, outline our processes or the ways that we do things so that when new joiners are onboarded, they can watch a video of it as opposed to having to read it. Because if they're anything like me, I personally don't like to read anything that's not fiction and fun, right? I don't want to read informative things. I like to listen to informative things or watch informative things. So that was a thought process I had, and that's why I started looking at Notebook LM. I started off by playing around with it. So I literally just uploaded. In fact, let me go back and show you how to do it. I literally just clicked create new notebook. You upload your source, so you can either upload like a document. What I did is because the open source prompt engineering thing I was speaking about was on a website. So I just put in the website link. And then it kind of uploads that. So it will have a source on the left hand side. So if I go back to the notebook that I had already made, the source is here on the left hand side, right? This is the link that I uploaded. Then I first asked it to create a study guide. So that's what it's done here. It's got a generative AI and prompt engineering guide. But then I thought to myself, like I said before, I actually don't like reading stuff like this. I still want to consume the same information, but I would rather hear it. So it's got a new beta feature where it can create like a podcast type thing for you. And I do enjoy listening to podcasts. So it takes about 2.5, 3 minutes to generate, but it's generated me an 11-minute and 20 podcast, which I'm not going to put into this whole clip now, but let me just play a little snippet of it for you so you can kind of hear what we're working with, right?
It feels like every single day there's some new tech breakthrough, especially with AI, right? It's exciting, definitely. But honestly, trying to keep up feels like trying to drink from a fire hose sometimes.
So, today on the deep dive, we want to cut through some of that noise. We're focusing on two key ideas you hear everywhere now: generative AI, or Gen AI, and prompt engineering. Our mission really is to pull back the curtain a bit, understand what Gen AI actually is, and then look at how this skill prompting can genuinely empower you, like in really practical ways. And for this deep dive, we've turned to a really foundational source. It's the Prompt Engineering Guide from Learn Prompting.
I'm going to stop it there, but I think that is so cool already. Like the fact that all I did was click a button which said generate podcast, and it literally just generated a podcast. Those two voices that you just heard, they're not real. It's generated by AI. I think that is amazing. This is all free. Oh, is it free? I don't know. Let me check on that because I'm doing this on my Success with Steph Google Drive actually, and I do pay for Success with Steph Google Drive. I might test this out on my normal, like personal Gmail and just let you know whether this still works on that as well. Because I don't know whether you have to like pay for G Suite in order to have all of this functionality or whether it's available to you if you're just using like a normal free Google Mail. I'll get back to you on that. Other things it can do, so if you're someone who likes this kind of thing, you can generate a study guide, and I did actually do that before just to see if it was helpful. But again, I must confess this would not be the most helpful way for me personally to learn. But if you are someone who likes to learn through things like this, then try it out. So it summarizes what the guide is about. It tells you what the key concepts are in the guide, which I think is actually really good. So it's got some review questions. I would hate that. I don't want to feel like I'm having to study for an exam. But again, if that's the way you like to learn, I think that could be quite helpful. It's also got a quiz, which is kind of cool, as well as the quiz answer key. Again, helpful because you want to know that what you're saying is actually correct. Essay format questions, I think that's a bit of overkill, but I wonder if you could use your prompting that you have learned from this prompt engineering course to tell it to just remove that, possibly. And then also a glossary of key terms, which again is super duper helpful. In fact, I'm actually going to copy and paste the glossary of key terms in this video because I think that's actually really helpful. So overall, so far, I would say my pros of this is that it works relatively quickly. The longest thing was the podcast, and that took about 2 minutes to do. But everything else I've played around with in terms of the various different buttons, putting in some prompts, things like that, that's all taken less than 20 seconds, I would say, to generate. So that's very interesting. That's good. I like the fact that it's linked to where things are saved. So I mentioned at the start of this video that as soon as I saw this or someone speaking about this on LinkedIn, I thought to myself, this could be very useful for onboarding people in my company in Dossier, right? And because my company uses G Suite, it's easy that, you know, everything is already kind of there. So it already has access to everything that it would need. I wouldn't have to upload it to another platform to give it access. I think that's quite good. One thing I do want to do is to just compare this to another LLM out there. So let's just use ChatGPT because I think, you know, that's one that everyone knows. Just to see if I put in the same thing. So if I say, you know, using the link, which is what I put into Google, which contains a guide on generative AI and prompt engineering, come up with, let's say, the study guide. I want to see if it comes up with a very similar sort of thing. And let me see what it actually does come up with, because I think that could just be interesting. So I'm going to let that do its thing in the background. Now, I deliberately didn't give it too much context. I did do the usual because I think when you are using ChatGPT, you definitely have to train your model. This is ChatGPT 4.0, by the way. So you definitely have to train your model. So I've asked it to act as a learning and development lead for a company. I've told it that the task is to teach employees how to improve with prompt engineering. I've told it what to use, and I've given it the link to the engineering guide. I could have given it a bit more structure in terms of how to structure the study guide, but I just wanted to see what it would come up with, because on NotebookLM, I don't know what is there on the back end when you click this study guide button. I don't know how that's been coded. I don't know what data set it has been trained on to be told to come up with this thing where it's got 10 questions, it's got essay-based questions, it's got quiz questions, all of that sorts of stuff. I have no visibility on that, right? So I thought, let me just give it a kind of vague-ish prompt and see what it comes up with. So it's come up with foundations and motivation. So again, starting off with what is prompt engineering, why it matters, objectives. Okay. It's come up with core techniques. Okay, fine. Advanced strategies and applications, fine. So, I mean, as you can see, and maybe I should put this side by side, this is completely different to what comes up on NotebookLM, right? The information is still from the same source because I put in the same link, and you can see here it's showing me that it's got all of this stuff from Learn Prompting. So it's from the same source. It's used a variety of different things, like it's got tables, it's got bullet points, stuff like that, but it's not set up in the same way at all. Now, it could be that the prompt that I gave it is what has led to this output. I wonder what it would be like if I put in a more vague prompt. So if I just said create a study guide, in fact, let me actually put that in and see what comes up. Create a study guide from this open source link. Let's see what it does. Okay. Learning prompt, intro study guide, getting started, core prompt. So this is quite similar, to be fair, to what I had put in before with more context. It's a bit shorter. It doesn't have as much in depth. And I guess because the context before was I want it to be used for employee training, it's gone into a bit more detail to help with employee training. Interesting to see that when I was a bit more vague with the prompt, this is what it came up with. But the point is, I think between what ChatGPT has created and what you can do inside NotebookLM, especially if you are using some kind of workflow that is already in G Suite, NotebookLM kind of gets my vote here. So this is interesting. I'm definitely going to play around with it a little bit more, but my main takeaways from today are prompt engineering is super duper cool. I've popped in, and I'll put it in again, all of the key terms that I have learned this week that I found really interesting. In terms of what I think I would use this for, I've already mentioned I personally think I would use it to create training. So for me personally, the training is for the purposes of onboarding team members, but if you were studying and you wanted to create things to train yourself, I think you could do that. If you are selling some kind of product and you want to create training materials for it, I think you could probably use it for that. You may want to play around to get your prompt to be perfect for you. But obviously you can use what you learn in the prompt engineering guide to help you do that. If you found this video interesting, or if you want to learn more about some of the different tools that I have been using, please do let me know. I have also been keeping up to date a running tracker of everything that I have been learning each week. So it's got YouTube videos, it's got guides, it's got prompts that I have kind of created for myself and created into templates for various different things. So if you want to have access to that, please do let me know. I'd be happy to share. Let's all learn and grow together.